In the 1930s, an old man named Fuller revealed an unacceptable truth to mankind in his experiments. Realizing this, he decided to preserve the discovery in the form of a letter. At a posh hotel, Fuller gave this correspondence to Cubo, the bartender, and instructed him never to divulge it, as it would soon be picked up by a man named Doug. However, Cubo uncontrollably peeks at the letter and finds its contents unbelievable. An unsuspecting Fuller returns home and prepares to rest, but his eyeballs undergo an incredible transformation and a white light transports him to another modern civilization. Fuller walks into a bar dressed in a modern suit, still reeling from the letter. He decides to contact Doug in person, but is unable to get through on the phone. Just then, he is approached by a mysterious man, and the two seem to be very familiar with each other. However, the mystery man doesn't hesitate to stab Fuller to death, allowing the news of his death to reach Doug. Doug learns the news with increasingly mixed emotions, while a large amount of unidentified blood and a blood-stained shirt appear in his home. Doug rushes to the police station and discovers that the victim is his leader Fuller, who has become the prime suspect. During the investigation, Doug gradually discovers that Fuller's company has undertaken a disruptive project. Fuller has created a virtual world, similar to a large open-ended game, that perfectly recreates New York in the 1930s. The characters in this virtual world were self-aware and creative thinkers. Doug realizes the potential threat of this project, especially the information about the end of the virtual world. In order to find the letters left by Fuller, Doug decides to enter the virtual world himself to investigate. This involves downloading his brain consciousness to a computer and forcing it into the virtual world through a genetic match to him. Entering the virtual world for the first time, he finds himself occupying the body of a bank clerk. In the virtual world, Doug finds the hotel, but Cubo deliberately withholds information related to the letter. Doug feels a splitting headache and is forced to go offline urgently because of the time limit of the virtual world, but realizes that the character in the virtual world has left behind residual memories that create a sense of déjà vu. Cubo gradually remembers things about the letter, revealing the vulnerability of the virtual world. Doug realizes that the characters in the virtual world are not completely controlled, but retain some memories. Through Cubo, he finds the letter and learns that it concerns the end of the virtual world. However, when Doug returns to reality, the police name him as a suspect. During his investigation, he learns that Fuller's project is capable of upending an entire civilization. At this point, Jenny, Fuller's biological daughter who lives far away in France, suddenly appears. She wants to shut down her father's program, but Doug is confused by this. Fuller's genetic body reveals to Doug that he dreamed of having fun in a hotel, triggering Doug's deeper suspicions about the virtual world. Doug decides to enter the virtual world again without setting a time limit. He gradually learns the truth about the virtual world and realizes that the characters in it are intelligent beings with self-awareness. Cubo tells him about the letter, and Doug realizes that a loophole in the virtual world may be giving the characters a sense of déjà vu. Back in reality, Doug searches for Jenny, only to find that she is no longer with the company. Investigating, he realizes that Jenny's identity and appearance have changed dramatically. The police tell him that Fuller has no relatives, and Doug finds her by following Jenny's vehicle. However, Jenny's transformation throws Doug into confusion. Jenny tells Doug that they seem to be having a sense of déjà vu. Doug drives west in search of the end of the virtual world, but realizes that he has misinterpreted the meaning of Fuller's letter. It turns out that the letter's reference to the end refers to the world they live in. Doug, like Cubo, experiences a collapse of his worldview and beliefs and realizes that the world they live in is just a virtual illusion. At this point, Jenny's husband suddenly appears and tries to kill Jenny. Officer Mac intervenes and rescues Jenny. Doug's consciousness returns to reality, only to realize that he is no longer in the virtual world. He manages to take over the body of Jenny's husband, while Jenny awakens in the meantime. However, they remain puzzled as to whether they have actually returned to the real world.